They know what they're doing. Geico.com, pretty simple. Geico.com. It's a huge college football weekend. And, one of the reasons I didn't think Michigan should be in the Final Four playoff, I thought they were a terrible matchup against Alabama and a terrible matchup against Alabama or Clemson. And I still think Jim Harbaugh is a great coach, but like every Michigan coach over the last 20 years, they get hammered by Ohio State. And I think Michigan proved what I suspected would eventually happen against Alabama. It just happened against Ohio State. They couldn't compete athletically. They're not the same team. Watch the game. Speed, size, length. They just don't match up. And I'm watching the game, and it really hit me that in college football right now, stay with me for a second on this. Let's consider top 20 teams, just the big boys, right? There's two divisions in the country. Forget the conferences. There's the northern powers, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Washington, Penn State. Northern powers. Then there's the southern powers, Bama, Auburn, LSU, Clemson, Oklahoma, Florida, most of the SEC. So don't consider Power 5 conferences. Don't consider coast. Consider two divisions for college football. There's the really good teams up north and the really good down south, warm weather, cold weather. And it really hit me this weekend watching Michigan, Ohio State. Again, watching what happens every time they play the last 15, 20 years. Ohio State looks like an SEC team. They look like Oklahoma. They look like Clemson. They look like Auburn. They look like LSU. Nobody really looks like Bama, but they're close. Speed, athleticism, length, depth of talent. That Ohio State, and I've said this several times, is the only northern power that their ideology is southern. Junior college, transfer, pay whatever it takes. They're a southern football team that plays north. And just to throw this out there, everybody wants me to pick the four most deserving teams in the Final Four. But those aren't the four best teams. The four best teams to me are Alabama, Oklahoma, Clemson, and after this weekend, I don't even think it's Notre Dame. I think it's either Georgia or Ohio State. Forget deserving. You're just telling me who looks different. And I like Notre Dame. I really do, but they played one SEC team this year. Vanderbilt gave them fits. And I came up with a stat. I asked my team this morning to look something up. Northern powers, southern powers. If you consider Ohio State a southern power, the way they recruit, take transfers, JCs, pay whatever it takes, sell out their stadium. Ohio State against the Big Ten in the last decade is 74-12. The SEC against the Big Ten last decade, 25-15. If you take one program in the North, Ohio State, and consider it a Southern team, folks, you're telling me who deserves to get in. This is why it's difficult with this playoff. Northern teams mostly beat Northern teams. Northwestern couldn't win an out-of-conference game this year, 0-3. Yet they'll end up in the Big Ten championship game. What am I to make of them? Notre Dame. I don't know. They don't beat Clemson when they play. They struggle with Vandy. That's the difficulty I'm having with the college football Final Four. It's why I said Oklahoma deserves to be in over Michigan. Because my eyes tell me depth, length, speed, mobility, player. Oklahoma's better than Michigan. Oklahoma matches up with Alabama. You do remember what happened when Oklahoma played Georgia last year, right? They looked like they should be on the same field. You do remember what happened the last time Notre Dame faced Alabama. It looked like Division I, Division II. Is that I'm watching Ohio State and Michigan, and it just struck me. Why do I even consider Ohio State a Big Ten team? They're nothing like the Big Ten. Look at their record in the last 10 years. Take out the Luke Fickell year. They don't even average one loss a season. Just take out the 1 year they were in turmoil and hired a guy who's a coordinator or a position coach, not a head coach. That year they were 3-5. All the other years, they don't even average a loss a year. And so my takeaway is when I watch all these games, I try to see it from a big picture perspective. You're asking me to come up with four teams in the end. They're not the best four. The best four teams I've seen this year, the best four teams I've seen after watching I watched all this weekend. Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, and I think it's Georgia. Now, Georgia's going to lose to Alabama. It'll be a 10, 13-point game. They'll lose to them. It'll be competitive. It will because they can match up. But, man, I'm watching Michigan, and I'm like, this is what I thought Alabama would do to them. And then I thought, well, Ohio State's closer to Bama the last 15 years than they've been to Michigan. Michigan's not close to Alabama, and Ohio State's not Bama, but they're closer to Alabama than they are to Michigan. And I watched Notre Dame this year, but again, I get fooled because I'm watching Notre Dame beat Northern teams, and I'm watching Michigan beat Northern teams. And the minute they face Ohio State, it's like, whoa, those teams don't even look athletically like the same team. Ohio State was using their third and fourth receivers. They were using guys barely played. They're running away from Michigan players. Anyway, where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong, at the top of next hour. Plus, I have Peter King, Trent Dilfer, Rod Woodson. Let me say this about Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield deserves some credit. He's played very well. And the Browns are doing a great job. I mean, hey, throw it 25 times a game. We're going to run the football, play with a lead. And let's be honest, Atlanta and Cincinnati are statistically the two worst defenses in the league. But let's just say this. He's gotten better since Hue Jackson and Todd Haley left. That's impressive. Generally, the rule is rookie quarterbacks are better with veteran offensive head coaches. The coach left, he's better, and he deserves credit for that. But when asked about Hue on the field after the game, here's what Baker said.
It looked like you had a very brief encounter I saw before the game and then again after the game with Hue Jackson. Did you have a chance to say anything to you? If so, maybe what did he say and what was that like?
He said, good job, good game. Yeah, that was brief. I didn't feel like talking.
You or him?
Me.
Why not?
I don't know. Left Cleveland, goes down to Cincinnati. I don't know. It's just somebody that was in our locker room asking for us to play for him and then goes to a different team and play twice a year. Everybody can have their spin on it, but that's how I feel.
Why go there? Andrew Luck wouldn't, Breeze wouldn't, Russell Wilson wouldn't, Tom Brady wouldn't. Don't do it. Why go there? By the way, the other two quarterbacks, there's three quarterbacks in this league that everybody likes because they're full of big personalities. Baker, Cam, and Aaron Rodgers. How are Cam and Aaron Rodgers doing these days? Folks, the Seattle locker room basically deserted Russell Wilson, crapped on him to ESPN the magazine. He never fired back. These quarterback positions, you fall in love with personality. You fell in love with Johnny Manziel. You fall in love with Cam. You fall in love with Aaron Rodgers. You want personality. I don't. I want boring. There's no reason Baker Mayfield even needs to go there. He's having a good month, getting himself on track. Just stop.